Reflection 8, April 25. We're officially in Q2. So yeah, I guess what are we starting with? Usually it's what have you learnt over the last month? What are some kind of key themes that have popped up for you?
The one that jumps out is probably the obvious one that everyone's been talking about, but everything can turn on a sixpence. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, we were making steady progress. We had a lot of iron in the fire, and then a kind of broader macro change in the market that was fairly seismic kind of presented a number of new opportunities. And there's been obviously you're torn in how you feel about it. You welcome the opportunity selfishly from a CAM perspective, but there's people involved and humans involved, which is very, very sad. And yeah, just we've said it a lot, but the consistency of showing up and being present and available so that when things like that do drop, which are very, very, like, very quick. It was a time in market that I don't think either of us, in fact, everyone I spoke to hadn't experienced. It was a very interesting 10 days or so post that news being circulated. And I think the lesson of that was we were presented with opportunities because we had remained consistent and we had remained present and we'd showed up, and the relationships we had and that reason meant that we were in line to see some opportunities come in off the back of that. So yeah, it all changed very quickly, but in a positive way for us. But yeah, being very mindful about it, like not being like it's a great thing to happen, because it's not. And just on that, actually, it doesn't reflect well on the channel, and the channel itself has, through people like us and a lot of other people in the last probably 5 years or so, have done a lot of work trying to educate the wider marketing ecosystem of the benefits of affiliate, and previous preconceptions and historical context are not necessarily relevant now. And then when something that happened, it does set the channel image back quite a bit. So definitely not a positive outcome, but an outcome that presented certain opportunities.
Yeah. It's a double whammy on that note as well, because it's both a poor reflection of the affiliate channel, and then also agencies that provide the services. So it's like it's a bit of a combo blow to us. But you're 100% right. I think while it was like a fortuitous break for us, it is the complete opposite for everyone that's involved at a human level, and you definitely like feel the shockwave a bit. And you also, like you said, a lot can change while we're feeling the positives of that kind of equation, which are, things can change very quickly for you. Those guys going into work and getting that news, they'd argue that a lot can change in a very negative way very quickly. So
and the brands and the platform involved as well. Like, a lot of the timing of it, just by fluke, was so near the holiday. A lot of people that didn't anticipate that work being on their plate suddenly found themselves with a huge workload to fulfill. So yeah, everyone involved suffered, man. It wasn't good at all.
No. To be honest, I haven't got a lot this month, which is, I love to talk, so that's pretty rich coming from me. But I think the one thing that has been like staring in my mind is like, it doesn't really matter how you win business. Like, winning business is obviously the focus for us, and growth is the focus for us this early in our kind of venture. And as someone else said to us, that has kind of gone through this journey themselves, like, new business is just the rest of your career. It's when you get to this level, or when you kind of go into a venture like this, it just never stops on that front. And that whole up and down wave as well, same person, 100% rang true as well. But I think while you, like, Dom Toretto said, whether an inch or a mile, a win's a win. Like, you'll take any way that you can win business, you can. But I do I've been weighing up whether like a transition from a previous agency or a fresh start to a relationship, like which of them would I prefer? Or which of them is, because you tell people the news of, yeah, we've had, everyone's asking you how the business is going, and you go, oh yeah, we want this account, or oh yeah, this has kind of happened. And they're obviously super excited, but I think for me, coming into this picture and steadying the ship, and it's an awesome challenge, but I almost feel like I've like we have to go further than we've gone, and we have to try, and we need to impress and wow, and really take things to another level. Because of this situation. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, we always knew as soon as we won business and as soon as business started coming through, we were going to, smash things out of the park and make sure we had really strong and, connected and fruitful relationships with clients. But now I feel like with these relationships in particular that we're inheriting, I kind of feel like an additional sense of responsibility and an additional sense of kind of, expectation, which is like very exciting, because it makes me feel like just when you think you've kind of reached your ceiling, or like you've done everything you could possibly do, and everything that you get challenged and pushed in a new direction, which is cool. But yeah, just that equation of like, what would I rather? Like, would I rather, us, and by the way, just by chance, or I guess it's just the way the game works, but we've had this macro environmental kind of circumstance pop up. Alongside that, a lot of the outreach practices that we've been kind of going out into market and doing for months are starting to bear fruit as well. So when it rains it pours, I guess. But now that we're winning clients, winning business through kind of both of these kind of macro and micro pathways, if you will, just like evaluating how I feel, or even just being mindful about how I feel about some business that we've inherited, or business that we, have kind of really, I don't say fought for, because it's very dramatic, but, we've kind of created out of seemingly nothing. Those two pathways are so different, and they definitely, I think the weight of expectation on one is very different to the other. So that's something that kind of took me aback. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like because one thing's kind of gone a certain way, you almost feel that like, okay, that intensity, like, all right, we got to step up and we got to really like, smash this out of the park. Whereas when you win when you even getting like a response to cold outreach is, an amazing feeling, but then getting a meeting in and working through that pipeline, that process, it's more of a process. You know what I mean? It's just like nurture until you can kind of get an outcome. When you get the outcome, it's awesome. But then, okay, now we got to get it to onboarding. Now we got to kind of, it's a never ending process. Whereas this, I don't know, just the magnitude, I think really like kind of took me aback a bit more than I thought.
I hear you. I think the only thing I would play, I don't know if it's devil's advocate, but just an ulterior point of view on, was the weight of expectation for me feels the same but different. So like with the brands that you're talking about that have come off the back of our own communication, they're new to market and they're new to channel. So where you're talking about the huge brand that you're referring to, which the weight of expectation is like, because of their previous experience and the nature of the affiliation of that brand with us, you feel like it's like a daunting prospect almost, like this has got to be so good. But then on the other hand, you've got these guys that are playing in an environment that they don't know what success is. So we've got quite steep targets for them. So the weight of expectation is a lot more quantified in that context, whereas in the other context, it's more feel and like making sure that the client isn't stressed and worked up, and that they know the value of the channel. They need someone that's going to manage it smoothly. So I feel the weight of expectation probably the same, but in a different
way.
Context.
You've definitely articulated that a lot better than I had, but that's exactly kind of the crux of it. It's just like, they're very different, like
Yeah,
very different. You feel like a win is a win, but it really isn't. It's you know,
totally
different
agree.
kinds of pressure, they're different kinds of like yeah, business, I guess you could say. But
And it
yeah, that's
asks different things of you, right? Like you've
yes,
almost got to switch into a different gear
yeah,
depending on the business that you're working on. Whereas in our
for real.
previous roles, every business was a very similar size. The ask was very similar. And so not that it became monotonous at all, but like you you just had one gear and that
Yeah,
was what you did. Whereas you find, or I find, I don't know if you're the same, where you have a conversation coming from a certain angle with a certain client now, and then you've almost got to switch form into a completely
yes,
different mindset with another because their ask is completely different and
yeah,
their need is completely different. So I love it, man. I think
yeah,
it's a great
it
it's a
is.
great skill to learn and perfect because we haven't had to use it.
And in a lot of ways, it's the reason that we started doing what we were doing,
True.
so we could be this flexible and we could kind of, you know, be challenged and, uh, you know, really have the opportunity to show off our expertise. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. Anything else to add?
The one I was going to say, which I thought you were going to say, was, and it ladders in from that quite nicely, to be fair, is getting back on the tools.
Yeah,
Been a while,
yeah,
and just going through the processes of like what we have to do to manage a program that we know we've got time with,
mm,
and taking on the operational responsibility. Because a lot of stuff we've done up till now has been very strategic focused, very visionary, and this is what we would do, but we're actually putting things into practice now and getting back into platforms and doing things and speaking to partners and doing the job has been it's been nice. I've
it's a
enjoyed
good.
it.
Yeah,
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 it's really good.
yeah. I think so many times we've been in the platform, or specifically I've been in platform kind of, you know, taking care of like admin
Mm.
related tasks and whatnot. Um, just getting that sense of familiarity back. It's definitely like there's a bit of an exhale and there's like a sense of comfort and you're like, okay, cool,
Yeah,
like we're back now type of thing.
I'm in my safe space.
Yeah. Because obviously, as we've spoken about, right, like we weren't in sales roles by any means.
No,
You know,
no.
we've always, and we've kind of almost had to transition into sales, and now, you know, we can wear that hat, but you know, we're back to, you know, building great relationships, and optimizing programs, which is where we want to be. So, no, awesome. Anything on your radar for next month, or anything you're kind of thinking about? Looking,
Um, Even though we've had a really, really great sort of last week, 2 weeks, I'm really looking forward to getting even more decisions back on. It feels like we've still got a lot in the air,
yeah,
and a lot of exciting opportunities that we're kind of waiting for the next steps on. And I'm hoping and I'm excited in anticipation of getting them decisions back and understanding where we're at, what we're doing, and the focus really now is kind of in the end to the end of Q2 and into Q3. And yeah, man, it could be. I just got a feeling it's going to move very, very fast, and that we're going to have. It's going to, yeah. I'm anticipating it to be quite fast paced, which will be really nice because
mm,
we've said on it before. January and into February was pretty slow, and I think we found that hard. Um, So I think any fast paced situation we find ourselves in is welcome. So I'm looking forward to that, to be honest with you.
yeah, fair.
What about you?
Um, I think juggling, and I think this is something we potentially preemptively kind of spoke about before, like earlier on in our journey, when you know we were going through a high, and then that kind of turned into obviously a bit of an adjustment period for us, but just balancing, you know, managing some new client relationships and programs alongside, you know, the stuff that we needed to do to grow the business in terms of outreach and, you know, pitching and things of that nature. I think finding the time to do both, and do them both well is like, it's going to be a really good challenge for both of us. And
Mhm.
it's something that I even felt today that I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in a different gear today because we are both, working on business that we're contracted to work on now, but then also, having a mind to, okay, what do we need to do, like, as a team to keep the business growing? Like, what are the other priorities for us? And kind of wearing those two hats at the same time. Again, something we probably haven't had to do that much of. And it's cool when you kind of take a step back and, very early days, but you can kind of see yourself evolving in that way. It's like, wow, this is rad. So looking forward to doing more of that, knowing that it's a constant. We're going to have to keep doing it, but also knowing that we have some really great stuff in pipeline that we can kind of keep nurturing and keep chasing up. And yeah, it's very, very cool. Probably the other thing is just keeping these reflection practices in place while things get busy. Because we've obviously got that we've got this in practice in place, and then we've also got a fortnightly update that we do, which is a great way of summarizing, every morsel of, the business. And it's a good way to see when you're not particularly like busy from a new or like an account servicing perspective. It's a great way to quantify the work that you've done and know that, okay, it might not be something now, but this is all going to turn into something. You can see it with your own eyes. Just keeping that going, I think it's going to be a challenge, but I think between the two of us we'll be fine.
I agree. Yeah, no, like I say, man, my focus for me in terms of the next 2 weeks is both the points you just raised and just waiting on those decisions. And then obviously beyond that, the obvious stuff, just making sure that the clients that we have now and whatever their needs are met and exceeded, and just getting back to it, man. It's a buzz.
That's it. It is a buzz indeed. Hopefully the positive vibes and the energy continue into next month as well.
Fingers crossed. Well, we'll know when we do the next reflection. You'll gauge the mood as soon as we start talking.
True. So far, so good.
So far, so good.